Yeah,
our offices are hilarious. We office right next to each other, and there's like a window or a door with glass, like right kind of catty to both of us.
Oh, yeah.
And so we'll just stare at each other like through the glass and talk to each
yeah,
other.
just kind of lean, and I can see a reflection off the door, and that's how we talk to each other.
So if you just had a mirror there, like we could just see each other talk to each
Poor
other.
people that are outside hot desking, where they're just no barrier. We probably that's what we call it. Yeah, they probably hear some of our stuff that.
Oh, we hear so much stuff in the phone booth. It's a really cool space. Have you seen the new Gradient space downtown?
Yeah, is that where you guys are in Gradient?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on the board there and have been working I co-worked out of there that's where I started my practice. It was just such a cool place. It was when it was 36 degrees north, over on Cameron. And I got a sponsorship through OSU because I was an alum of there and I'd started a business. And so they just like sponsored my membership, and it gave me access to like conference rooms to meet with clients and all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
not have to have like heavy overhead, which is like translates well over to the client as well. But the new space is a lot of fun. It's huge. The synergies are really fun. But you've been over there?
No, I want to, and I also
Yeah.
want to develop a miniature Gradient out in Broken Arrow.
Oh, this
Yeah, we
is
talked
the one
about
you're
it.
talking about doing that. Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
No one's supposed to know. It's too late.
Too late. It's out there.
It's out there. Yeah.
It's been out there.
Yeah, at the last whiskey event in Broken Arrow is when I met the other two people that were talking about it. We got going on it for a minute. Yeah, and I met Kate as an intern at the old 36.
Yeah.
And I'd never been exposed to a co-working space like that. So when you went in there and everything's open and everyone's just doing their thing and walking around and getting business done at the same time, I thought it was really cool. And then we moved over here and got some dedicated offices. It's a little corporate on one side, but it still really feels like that old 36 on the other.
Yeah.
People just wander in your office, ask how you're doing. It's
All the
really
time.
cool.
There's some good office space here. There's 2 floors that they're still developing.
Oh, that's great.
And the cost per square foot is great. Like
Oh, I bet.
this whole thing I've got is $4,000 with utilities and
There's a bunch of space.
Yeah, because you're just
And
like
they-
all over on this one side.
and then they'll come and clean 3 or 4 nights a week. And if
That's
you see the
great.
marks on some of the chairs, they'll brush
Yeah,
the
they
chairs.
got it. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, which was the same price that I was paying 2 miles away with no cleaning. Well, with a third-party cleaner that didn't do as good as, did a different job or whatever, right? Like, didn't come as frequently or whatever, too. So, I don't know, utilities, fluctuating, whatever else.
Oh yeah,
It's just one bill. It's just nice.
that's really nice. Those secondary lease bills. What do they call it? Ad hoc or
Something like that.
something? Some fancy acronym or of some kind.
So, we've got Green River. This is good stuff. They have like four different lines that I'm familiar with. I think they have 2 ryes and 2 bourbons.
Okay.
But so
Oh,
this
I
is
like
the
it.
end of this one.
It's really nice, medium. Doesn't burn you on the back end. I'm a fan of it.
You've got this spiked vanilla latte.
That's perfect. This is really nice. Just perfect thing for a cooler
A
Friday.
little, what'd you call it? A little vanilla?
Whisper. A little whisper. Just like I like my mimosas. Just a whisper of orange juice.
Yeah.
actually-
Mainly champagne.
The secret to a good
Oh my
margarita
gosh.
too is
Nothing can aggravate me more than when a mimosa comes out and it is like opaque. I cannot see through it. I'm like, I didn't want a cup of orange juice with a splash of champagne. I wanted
$9 for a
champagne
glass of orange juice.
and a whisper of OJ or cranberry or
a little bit
nothing.
of both. A little
honestly.
grenadine.
Yeah.
Jansen's trade secret for good margaritas too. A splash of orange juice.
Yeah. Good orange juice.
So
too.
that's what my grandpa does when he makes his. It's the canned lemonade, right, in a blender with ice, and then in comes plenty of tequila, and my gosh, what is it? The liqueur, the citrus liqueur,
Oh, a Cointreau
No,
or
well,
Grand
it's
Marnier.
Triple sec.
Triple
Or
sec.
triple
Yeah.
sec, yeah.
Yeah.
and then
Maybe.
Cointreau, and then a spoonful of Cointreau on top.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
then just like a dab of like orange citrus.
You take any crappy margarita and turn it into a really good margarita. Yeah, I learned it from a really good bartender back when I worked at Toby's, and he followed me over to Burnco eventually when I was bartending at Burnco, and he was working the meat in the back. And always I was getting him like, "How is your margarita so good? Mine are terrible." And after a long time of pestering, he's finally like, well, the secret is just a splash of orange juice. Like, no, it's not.
Yep.
Immediately
Yes, it
better. Immediately better.
The citrus just eliminates the tequila taste burn. Some people
It
don't
kind of
like.
cuts that limey, sweet and sour piece. Sometimes those are too sweet.
Yep.
Like the orange comes in and just kind of settles everything a bit.
Yep. All right. So you guys are in intellectual property legal and stuff, right? Like, what are you working on then? What's going on?
Jansen and I are a solid IP team. I started my practice, Black Dog Law, about 8 years ago.
Dope name.
Thank you. Very fun. I came up with it. I have always had black labs and was rescuing many at the time and had some. And so I was just like, it's way cooler than just Kate Sullivan, attorney at law, because there's tons of us out there. So I was like, let's change it up. And Black Dog Law just kind of stuck. And it was fun. I had fun with the marketing and, doing all of that. So did that for several years and only IP law as much as I could. So patent, trademarks, copyrights, intellectual property. I got my patent license after I went through law school and got my license to just practice general law in Oklahoma. I qualified, just like Jansen does as well when he gets his license, to take the patent bar. You have to have a science background. And my background, originally, my entire life plan was to become a veterinarian from a very early age up through college, all the way. A lot of hard work, a lot of good grades, all the kind of stuff. And so I took a ton of science courses. Got waitlisted in vet school, decided to pivot. It was a recession time. Considered med school, worked at an ER for a year. That was fascinating in so many ways, down at the OSU hospital downtown. And decided, med school's not for me either. So worked in a bunch of random ways for a while, took some extra courses, and then had enough science in my pocket to take the patent bar exam, which was great. Because the rest of law was kind of scary and not pleasant at the time to me. I wasn't excited about the practice of law after I was going through law school, and figured I could combine the sciences that I really missed with the legal field and do IP law. And so passed the patent bar, started my practice, have some great, incredible mentors that are other IP attorneys in town and around. And then Jansen came in as an intern a couple of years ago. He was still in school and came in and worked with me one summer and just was great. I mean, he was a huge help to me. We got on very well. He went back, went through school, got out, and was kind of looking around for hoping to get back into that IP focus because he was doing criminal law and a few other things at the time. And I was like, why don't you come over and work back with me? And it's just been honestly a great team ever since. It's been a lot of learning and learning how to, deal with an associate or another person, in your practice and how you count on each other and how helpful it could be. Because I've just been kind of on my own forever. And then it's just really we make a great team.
Yeah, immediately jumped on that when Kate offered that. My background, I come from a hard science background, like a real hard science background. I was a biochemist by trade and had a few careers after that. After I graduated biochemistry,
It's a little different than law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
IP chooses you. It's really not the other way around. You either fall into it or you've had somebody in law long enough to tell you that this is what you should pursue. You kind of fall into it. And with a biochemistry degree, I was working in the hospital as a real lab junkie. I worked barbecue for a while, right, as I was finishing up. And then I had an opportunity to go work for Gulfstream on the G700 private jet program. So I went and did that, and I was loving it. I was in the lab. I was doing material resins and flows, working on some pretty cool stuff. And they made it pretty clear to me that at this location, there really wasn't a place for me to move up. Next step up for me was in management. And I was there for about 2 years and decided, well, if I can't move up here, I think I might want to be my own boss. So I took the LSAT, got into law school pretty quickly. The rest is history. And I fell into IP as I was doing it. I was in a weird position because at the time, TU had a dedicated intellectual property professor. They haven't for a very long time, and then they haven't since. So I've been classically trained in intellectual property by a very amazing professor. She was third in her class at Harvard. She took on Warner Brothers for fun. She's was brilliant. So I took every class, almost got a minor essentially, if you could call it that, while I was there, because I just kind of decided like this fits all my background and what I like to do, and is in law. So I was looking for it, and cold called Kate essentially, saying, "Hey, I don't know if I want to do this big firm thing. Would you be willing to take on an attorney? I'll try not to pester you too much." And she said, "Yeah, come on." And spent the summer with her. Immediately loved the way the IP actually works rather than just the legal side of it. And when I got out, she was kind of in the middle of trying to work a few things out. Couldn't quite take on an associate yet. So I went and did criminal law, family law, for 8 months or so. Great experience, not for me.
Messy.
It's
I've heard it. The family law, domestic stuff is.
if you're not built for it, it wears on you. It will tear you down.
You need grit.
Criminal law, I mean, I came out of law school at the top of my class for trial work. I did all the trial stuff.
The litigations. You
all
like
the litigation. Yeah, I did all the mock trials. I came out with a small team who was
I loved litigation. When
top-notch
I
litigation.
took a law class where
Yeah.
we did the debate stuff, and
But for me, it was never the thrill of the fight. I never got like the adrenaline from litigation. My drive was from defending a client. And all my friends were like, "Oh, it's just the thrill, the chase," right? So they were built for it a little bit better than me. I was more built for the support for them, and I recognized that when I was doing all this. So when I came out, I was already prepped for litigation, went into criminal. My second day practicing, I was in the courtroom defending.
He was calling me. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah,
I was like, I couldn't do that.
It's a wild experience when you don't know what you're doing and you get thrown into the courtroom. Then family really eventually chewed me up and spit me out. And after doing enough family, I decided this is not my fit. And at that time, by just sheer blessing or luck or what you call it, Kate was ready. Yeah. And we kind of worked the plan out, and I jumped ship, and I've been happier ever since. So that's kind of how we're sitting here today.
Yeah, we are so fortunate. It's like Jansen said, family law, any law where you're dealing with somebody's freedoms, livelihoods, the worst part of their lives. You're going through a divorce, you're worrying about your kids' custody, DUIs, criminal stuff. I mean, that's real life. And it's like, not that what we do isn't, but that's like your freedoms, your emotional, everything's so tied into all these things. And for me, I'm like a highly empathetic human, and it just would have eaten me to death. And I knew that, at least at that point, about myself in my life. And IP, we're building we're helping people build things, cool things, positive things. We're working towards a goal. Somebody comes to us with an idea, a first-time inventor, first-time entrepreneur, seasoned business owners, and they're like, hey, we're working on this thing. How can we protect it, or how can we better build it out, or what can we do about it? And it's like, it's fun. We're helping these people get along. And then through those years, we also see, running a business is not just the technical piece. For you, it's not just the market. It's not just what the technical piece. It's your employees, contracts, insurance, your rental, all these other different things that weigh on you, that take your time, and when you're kind of an early stage entrepreneur, that all falls on you usually, unless you have a co-founder, which are great, and then you start to grow that up, but that lends to its own complications. I tell any client, if you've got a partner, a co-founder, or it's like a group effort, plan for the divorce in a business. Set it up in a way that everything is clear and on paper. For us, it's not just the IP, because you see how things can go wrong in about 1,000 million different other ways for their business. We can only mitigate one piece of it. But me being, the person that I am and always wanting to be helpful, when you see them struggle in those other areas, you want to figure out a way to help them or connect them with someone that can alleviate that pain point that it takes to, for their business to succeed. Because when you see them fail, like I got this early on. I took a client, we get a patent, and then he's like, I can't make any sales, and he didn't know that piece. That was not his technical acumen, was the sales. He did the innovation, but he didn't know how to get it out there to public. He didn't know how to market, or he didn't know what channels to go for, who his customer really was going to be, and how to like preach to them. You know, and I didn't know any of this part of business, honestly, when I started practicing law. I mean, I learned a lot because I had my own business and had to, you know, wear all those hats myself. And then I was working with people that were struggling, you know, with all those elements. So we try to, you know, network a lot and just find the right people to meet that can go help those clients succeed, not just in the one technical way that we want to help them. You know, I want to see them grow and thrive, you know, because this is their dream. I mean, as ridiculous as it sounds, as we try to help people achieve that American dream of independence, being able to earn your own living and, you know, not be subject to, you know, all those other elements that factor in, you know.
You know, that's right. I mean, I found myself in criminal law and family law. At some points, I was in a little bit of civil for protective orders. I was fighting over a bush in a neighbor's front. I'm not kidding. You know, I was fighting over
You were
bushes.
in a litigation for that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Protective orders.
Dude, people are whack.
Yeah.
So
You know, I
crazy.
was sitting there fighting over a bush in these two ladies' front yards that had devolved to nearly a fist fight. And I was fighting over some lady who had 19 cameras pointed at her neighbor's yard. You know, everything you did, no matter it was criminal, family, or this little civil stuff, people were losing. There was no winning on either side. So what we do now is
You were winning.
amazing. Oh, no, I was not
Yeah,
winning.
baby by the hour.
I was not winning. Let me tell you. I mean, I was winning some cases, but what I didn't feel
doesn't
like I
always
was
feel good.
making
Yeah.
a difference. Right? I didn't feel like my client had the outcome they desired.
No.
Now it's all building. It's all protecting. Very, very. Sometimes we do some fighting when things go bad, which it inevitably does. But when you plan for the divorce properly, you don't have to have that. But I'm always protecting somebody's idea, building their business. That's so much more rewarding than what I was doing before.
Yeah, and it's not just planning for the divorce, it's planning for the exit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we fortunately work with, you know, Eldridge Brooks, and they're great M&A attorneys, you know, which was a huge alignment that I needed, working with all these startups in this Tulsa ecosystem, especially the technology startups. You know, they're building and growing fast, you know, and getting lots and lots of funding, you know, and then there's going to be an exit at some point.
Yeah.
You know, and and it's such a quick high growth that it's hard to get all those foundational elements, you know, for that exit to be set up correctly. And we see it a lot from the IP side, you know, because you need those assignments, you know, those things that, you know, add value and are secure within the business itself for that sale.
So we've had a lot of these conversations, but it's also one of the things that, like, I discourage a lot of people from getting into business just because they just don't know what they're getting into, right? And they are like, oh, I have a talent. I'm a plumber, and I'm a good plumber, and people like me, and I can repair lots of pipes on my own. I have my own tools. I'm going to go start a plumbing company. They start a plumbing company, and they're like, I have no clue about taxes, finance, insurance, law, legal, whatever. You know, I don't know. People aren't now calling me now because I'm not public and, you know, or whatever. I'm not promoting. I don't even know how to promote. And then, you know, there's snowballs, right? And then it's like, well, I sold them on this, and then now they went and left a bad review, and I don't know how to handle that. I don't know. Like, we could snowball in a bunch of different directions. But kind of trying to come back full circles, like discouraging from getting in because you don't know what you're getting into. Okay, great. Now you know what you're getting into, plan for the exit. Okay, everything comes to an end. Either this is my new analogy, you're a sailor, and you're the pirate, you're the captain of this ship, you're a pirate or whatever, and you're going to go down with the ship, right? So you're going to take this business, and you're going to die with it, and everybody else is shit out of luck when you die, right? Because you didn't plan for anything else. You're like, I'm running this business until I'm dead. Great, do that.
Yeah.
But then tell everyone else that you're bringing along the way that they're going to have to figure something out when you die,
Yeah.
right? Or figure out how to build it to sell it, right? And that's the expectation is like, I'm going to sell this at some point and someone's going to buy it, right? And everyone's on board with that. Like, you know, if you stay here, great. If you come with me to the next venture, great. But this will somehow die.
Oh, yeah.
Or, you know, they forget to cover their bases. Like, what if you become disabled?
Oh, 100%.
Okay, because you're a solopreneur when you
Done
are
that.
the business, and you are the business for a very long time. until you can become established well enough to where you are not operating the business. You don't have to show up in order to provide a revenue, provide an income, or provide services or goods. And you have other people that are able to do that for you. Now you've kind of started to develop a business, but even then, you still provide so much value as an owner. What happens if you still disappear? Car accident, disabilities, or whatever? Do you have life insurance in place? And does that life insurance come in place with, is there a trust in place, or is there like a will? Yep. Or is there certain procedures that happen with a life insurance policy that says, when I die, you have enough coverage to keep the business running for 6 to 12 months and operational expenses, and maybe hire someone temporarily to cover your butt while things are running, pay off business debts and pay off personal debts. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. What is the dissolution plan in the event of that?
Nobody asks those questions when they get started.
All sunshine and lollipops when you're starting.
It's fuck my boss. I'm not 9 to 5 anymore, and I'm my own thing, and I'm gonna make the money because Big Dog over here is making $10K a month, and he's only paying me $3. I'm gonna go make $10K a month. Well, he's probably making $1K a month, while you're making $3. Yeah. You don't see the other side of that stuff, and you also don't understand the risk that he has versus you, financial risk, liability risk. Oh, that's John.
The squirrel.
John the
squirrel. Hi, John.
They actually have a dedicated TikTok for him.
Oh, really?
That's precious.
The girl's the opposite.
You're right. We see a lot of that with our inventor types who come in and they just say, like, I've got a great idea. I think it's worth a lot of money. I need to protect it. And, part of our job is telling them, like, well, what's next? We'll protect this for you, but what do you have next? Because a venture capitalist who wants to maybe invest is going to want to see, have you set yourself up to let this go? We see that a lot.
Because they do not want to keep it either.
Are you bootstrapping this? I've learned over the years, like, where's your funding coming from? Are you cashing out your 401k for this venture? Absolutely scary. Because then do you have the technical acumen to take it there? Or the business acumen to maybe or maybe not? But for me as a steward, of these people and their ideas and their finances to an extent, we have to be ethical and responsible. And I've learned to ask those questions because those are the things that will keep me up at night, is worrying about so-and-so and like how they're going to survive, if they can't figure out a way to sell or monetize this concept.
Yeah. Like of course I'm in marketing, which marketing gets blamed or gets credited way too much than sometimes either direction too much. So it's either, that's marketing. Marketing did a great job on that thing. Like, no, that was a good business decision to collaborate with that influencer. Marketing just made it look cool. Yeah. Marketing did a job making it look cool, but marketing didn't decide to do that. That was the business decision. Or it was like, there's not enough phone calls for landscaping. Well, that's because we're in a week of Christmas. Yeah. No one's calling for landscaping. Like, it's not marketing's fault, right?
You got to plan for those slow seasons too.
But people are like, oh, marketing did a bad job, or marketing's doing a great job. Like, are they? Yeah.
You're preaching to the choir on that one. If you look at the trust scale for jobs, nurses is near the top, pastors is near the top.
Pastors near the top?
Yes, it is. And then if you go way on down the list,
churches are a business
near
now.
Where people trust government.
Watch Righteous Gemstones.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a good one. But if you go way on down the list, near where the government is listed, we're 1 or 2 on either side, depending on the year, of how much people trust attorneys. It's right above the government or right below the government every year. That's how much people don't trust us. And that honestly comes from those few lines of law, like criminal and family, where nobody wins. Everybody's angry at the end of the day. For us, we have a little bit more likability, thankfully. Right? Most of our clients are very happy at the end of things. So you're preaching the choir on that one. It's if something goes wrong, it's my dang attorney just bled me dry and then hung me out to die.
It cracks me up how happy people are though too. Oh my God! And they love to
Till
just puff up their chest and be like, "My attorney."
Oh, yeah.
Like,
you'll hear from my
your attorney what?
Yeah.
Or like even if you have your attorney, like what leg do you actually have to stand on?
Yeah.
And how long can you stand to fund this litigation?
That's what they say is You can sue anybody for anything.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you'll win.
You
but
can file the
do
suit
it.
for anything, and then it goes through the process, and eventually it just dies.
Yeah.
Yeah, one side bleeds dry. Right now in our line of work, a patent to litigate will cost you about $1 million to fight. And so almost all of our clients, that's just not in the cards. If you're going up against somebody who can front that,
They're way out of your league, man. Way out of
out-compete
your
you
league.
just for money alone.
Well, I've also heard too, like in legal, when it comes to business matters, it's sometimes used as a technique to put somebody out of business, right?
Yep.
And so if I've got enough money, I'm going to sue you on something,
snuff
and I'm
them
just going to
out.
drive you dry, run you dry, and because I don't like you.
Yeah.
If I got enough money to do that, I'm just going to do that. So you want it to go to trial, I'll go to trial.
Yeah, it happens more frequently than you think. I think Oakley was one of those. Just like you have more power, more monopoly over the frames market. Well, we just outcompete you
Was that
until
called
we
we
can
hold
buy you.
something over somebody's head?
What?
What's that called? You hold something over somebody's head?
Blackmail?
No, like
Exploitation or
No,
It'll come.
it'll
It
come
happens.
to
It
us.
happens a lot on more than you think because we have most
leverage.
The leverage.
Yeah, where business is basically leverage. I've got
Oh,
more
yeah.
leverage over you, and so like I'm gonna hold. I'll sue you, and I'll run you dry. I got more money than you do, and it doesn't even matter. I don't care if I lose. That's not the point. It's to just run you
Oh,
out
yeah.
of capital.
It's a real tactic. Yeah.
We've learned too. I mean, even when people are litigation happy or they call you and they're like, this happened and I need to sue these people or we need to what can we do? And I'm like, well, how did we get sideways? How'd you get sideways with this group? A lot of times we'll see internal disputes or, disputes between two businesses over a joint contract or a joint venture. And it's again, no one planned for that divorce. No one planned for the tough times. So I'm like, well, let's go back and have a conversation.
Because it's not fun conversations to have.
What have you guys been doing? Emailing passive aggressively back and forth and also ignoring each other.
And God, man, those emails when you gotta
Emails
pull those
are
out.
brutal.
Then the lawsuit that I had 27,000 emails.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I've had one lately where people were just flinging ChatGPT emails at each other and hoping one of them was going to stick. They weren't even talking to each other. It was like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to sue you. And then they put it in ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is saying, well, no, you should sue them for this. And here's why you're wrong. And nobody gets anywhere. And then I get involved, and the other attorney finally gets involved, and we take a real look at it. And like, okay, well, this is actually what this is worth, right? Yeah.
Well, and can you go back and have a conversation to resolve it? Let's really try to get back to the table, look each other in the eye, have a conversation.
What's that called? There's terminology for that before you go to.
Mediation.
Yeah, but even before you get to that
Yeah.
formal level, can we rectify? Anytime there's a dispute with a client and someone else, I'm like, how can we fix this now to save the client money, number one, but time? They run a business for something, for some technical piece. Litigation and these little piddly legal battles, we all know the toll that disagreements take on all of us. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And if you could take all of that energy and actually focus it on what your business does and that piece of it to be successful, that frees up so much time. So can we possibly, for the love, go back to the table, look each other in the eye, and try to resolve whatever this is?
Yep.
Hopefully it's not too devolved by then. And a lot of times it is, right? Because
They let that go for a long because they try to avoid talking to us.
Yes.
And then there's just mom and dad have been fighting or
if you would have consulted
forever.
us beforehand, we'd tell you like, well, you could buy him out for not much money, maybe $1,000, $2,500 just to make this go away. Well, you tried to squeeze him out. Now I'm involved, and now another attorney's involved, and now the number has gone up to squeeze us out, to pay us out. It's just not worth it rather than coming to us beforehand. But that's one thing about Kate that I've learned over the years is her ability to think completely different and come up with some crazy ideas to come
She is
to
a
the
different
table.
human than you are.
Oh yeah, so I mean, she thinks differently than
Which is
I
good.
do, but we're both very creative people naturally with the line of work we do. But the ability to think so differently and come up with a left field idea that solves both people's problems is very valuable in what we do. It really has saved the day in a lot of instances. There's been times
otherwise it just kills people.
It really does.
It kills their business. It kills their their will. I mean, they're unhappy.
It
Like,
stalls things for months. Nobody wants to get acquired when you're under the threat of litigation. It can really mess things up rather than just talking to us beforehand. Like, I really want to clean my cap table up. What do I need to do? Well, let's approach this person the right way
yeah.
and talk to them about what they'll take rather than just saying, hey, we're done with you. We're going to exercise this clause and give you the boot.
So we talked a lot about litigation and a little bit about like IP and patents and stuff. So in a little bit about background, trying to come back full circle to what you guys are
To the
really
subject matter.
doing. You guys are really in the
Yes.
IP and patent space.
Yes. So
90% of the work or the desired work is
Yes.
that. Okay.
yeah, or trademarks. Trademarks are, Jansen and I do a lot of IP 101 talks because in my mind, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And if I can get, because a lot of times people's barrier to talking with an attorney on any front is the cost. So a lot of times, like, we'll offer like info sessions, office hours, just to kind of take that little initial sting out, and educate, those early stage companies on that ounce of prevention worth a pound of cure type thing. If you can get a trademark on file or you know how to go do a search of the trademark databases, it's all free. So a trademark is like what you would consider like your brand name, like Nike or Apple, and then they've got the name itself for the business and what the business does. That's your classes of goods and services that it would qualify under. And then you've got your logo, and, there's an evolution of that. You know that very well as a marketer, like how the evolution of a brand can happen. And, so if you can go do that trademark search and you pick your name, I picked Black Dog Law, and I didn't even do a trademark search when I picked it. Boy, I should have. I didn't have any problems. I have the trademark registered.
She filed the Secretary of State and like, I really hope this is available.
Yeah, this is gonna work. This is gonna work, and filed the trademark later. But if businesses, they pick that thing and they love that name, they picked it for some reason. Like,
Why
they
would
have
I trademark it in the first place?
the cost, know-how. You can trademark with the state of Oklahoma with the Secretary of State's office, and then you can get a federal registration with the United States Patent and
Do
Trademark
you have
Office.
to do both or one or the other?
You do not have to do both.
Can you go federal or just state? And why
You
would you
can
want to go
do-
either way?
If your
is not
business
legal
is
advice,
not
please.
gonna, yeah, this
Yeah,
is not,
disclaimer.
this is not legal advice. You can, if your business isn't gonna operate outside of the bounds of the state of Oklahoma, which this day and age with the internet, that can be difficult, or it's
yeah.
more blurred. However, if you're a hairdresser and you have a little shop and you don't ever plan to franchise, you just want it to be your mom and pop, or you've got something that's really going to be a solid brick and mortar. Like, I can't even think of a good example right now,
The
but
hairdresser, I mean, was a great example.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
dentist
not
office,
oh,
like a family dentist office.
It's
like-
kind of hard for them to go
Brownies.
travel. But
Brownies,
even,
burgers.
But
Yeah.
even then, like there was a wish recipient with Soldier's Wish where they had a dental guy. There's some dental doctor, whatever office here, and there was some wish recipient in Pennsylvania, and he came here to be serviced and then went back home. So like he resides in Pennsylvania. Is there a loophole there where he should have been protected on a certain level federally? Where, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I don't
There's
know,
something called
right?
common law trademark protection, which just as soon as you start using a name, it's, and you seek to protect it, you can claim some common law protection, but that will only cover the geographical region that reach has. Where's your customer base? Where are they located? What's your true reach? So then if there's, like we saw this a lot with cannabis law because it's obviously federally illegal. So, the federal trademark, situation is its own bit of glory right now because everything's slow at the government level. But like Colorado, for instance, had a cannabis, industry up and running for much longer than Oklahoma did. So if you wanted to open up same cannabis brand name here in Oklahoma and one had already been existing over in Colorado, then you're fine, technically, under law and even common law, because your geographical reach is legally bound by the state, the borders. So Colorado over here is fine because there's technically, legally not supposed to be any overlap. There should be no, crossing of the border of, these brands, these businesses, these products. We know there is. That's another conversation for another day. So common law protection can cover that geographical reach, but a U.S. Patent and Trademark Office federal registration where you get that circle R symbol, on your logo or your mark, that covers all 50 states. No
Can you
matter
just
what.
put that on there?
No.
What
You
happens if
can
you
only
do
put
just
a
slap
T.
it
You
on
can
there?
put a TM on anything now.
If I just put an R on it because I want to?
Circle R.
Yeah, it's
that an
considered
issue?
more fraudulent.
For
Is it fraud?
Yeah,
correct.
it would
Can
be
you-
misrepresenting what that symbol truly means. It's a certification mark in and of itself.
Fraud is really hard to prove.
But not for the trademark
Not
office.
through the trademark office. That's actually that's where a federal trademark registration can be really helpful for a business. It's just you get the backing of the USPTO and its laws and regulations and the decision making that they would do versus going into a regular court. So if you've got a dispute between your registered trademark and another brand, you know, you've got that USPTO backing. They're not going to step in and help too much, but you know, it's much easier to say in a dispute that I have this. This is my filing date. This is what I've been using it for, and the USPTO said it was great.
So would you TM when you start a business?
Yes, I always tell people as
Because
soon as you start using
nobody
it.
does.
Oh, it could
No one
TM,
knows. No, none of this
Yep.
stuff is common knowledge. Like,
Copyright
Is
symbol
it
too.
expensive? Is it hard? Is it
TM
timely?
is
it
like
costly?
you can
Is
put
it
the TM on
time-consuming?
anything. For a federal trademark registration,
So local.
it's going to be
Oklahoma.
less local Oklahoma. You're going to get one for right around $50 filing fee, and then for our time, it's probably going to be another $300.
For the
So
state filing.
less than
That's
500.
it?
Well, that's
Yeah.
for the state. For the
That's for
federal,
state
we
only.
do-
Which is fine, yeah.
Yeah, federal, you're going to be right shy of $2,000. But that gets you all 50 states. That gets you eventually that Circle R.
Which is kind of
It gives you a lot of
50, huh?
And it gives you that freedom to go operate. There are international trademark registrations. Think of if your brand goes global or you sell a lot over in Indonesia. If that
And so why do I want
country-
to trademark at all? Like, why can't I just say, hey, I have an EIN registered with it, and I have it registered as an LLC with the Secretary of State, whichever state it is, and I'm operating in business, and I have been for 40 years
Well,
or 60 years, because I've got clients that have
you've
been
got
operating
that
for
60-year
decades.
common law.
yeah. What we like to say is, what are you selling if you're not going to protect it? And if you've been working in your same area for a good bit of time, and big business comes from Arkansas or Texas or moves in near your area
It's like
with
the
the
Burger
same
King.
right with the same name, they're federally registered. They can prevent you from expanding. So they can come into your area close
Yeah, they
enough
can
to your
just
area,
kind of
and they can tell you, "Hey,
start to
we
say,
have
this is all you have left.
we have a federal registry, and you don't, and you can't expand because our rights are going to trump yours now." So,
Again, another tactic of business.
Yeah.
So I
So
love that
many.
you were just like, okay, this, because it happens. It's out
it
there.
happens a lot.
And it happens at whatever scale, right?
Yeah.
So to most SMVBs, very small business owners, or VSMBs, it's not going to happen because the budget's not there, right? The revenue, the capital is not there. When they're doing 500K less, 250K less, like the odds, in the revenue, it's just not available. But when you're talking in 7, 8, 9, 10 figures, it becomes a lot more common with the higher the revenue, right? And the bigger the motive, the bigger the more the backing, right?
We are
It
typically
becomes
now
there becomes a certain
recommending
point
get a federal registration.
at any level.
If you want to
Honestly,
sell on
at any-
Amazon
what
too,
is your goal? Yeah, and if you want to sell on Amazon, you have to have a registration or application on file.
It's-
You don't have to have the registration.
A trademark application?
Yes.
yes,
A
they like to
federal.
see the
If
liability.
you sell products on Amazon?
Yeah,
Do they ask for that?
it's required.
Really?
Yes.
So if you have a small business, we are recommending the smaller businesses do
It
it.
doesn't on TikTok.
The TikTok shop.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I haven't looked into
Oh
that.
no,
I've
I bet
created-
TikTok. No, I don't
I've
think
created
they
TikTok
do.
shops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
I
just
mean,
interesting to know, like, because where's the gray area? Right? And
gray
that's
area
always a question to figure
everywhere.
out, especially from your perspective, is where are the loopholes, where's the gray area in this, and where is the protection needed, right?
Yeah. Shopify's the same way. I don't think they require a trademark
Mhm.
application. But Amazon
Yeah.
likes to get rid of that
Which
liability.
I think is a good idea.
Well, it negates their liability. I mean, there's less squabbling. They at least, are ensured that someone's a little bit more legit. A trademark is an asset of your business. So again, we're planning for that exit. Well, what's the value of your business for that exit? What assets do you have? And a lot of times it's your IP. It's your know-how. It's how the business runs, and it's your brands, your name, what those customers recognize. That adds value.
It's actually one of the elements included in an operating agreement, or can be commonly, is IP, right? So what are the
Yep.
owners bringing to the table?
Yes.
And does the business own that if I contribute to that, or do I still own that?
And that can get
I
really
gotta take it
messy.
out?
It's a massive point of
That is
contention.
So I was asked in that whenever I was looking at this vocal pilot operating agreement, which I got to talk to you about. So, yeah,
Always something.
Yeah, it's a work product agreement in there.
yeah.
Yeah. We most of the time we will recommend that the IP stays with the company. That everything should be streamlined. If you are the owner, your IP should stay with the company, and all of
Yeah.
your agreements with your employees.
Or
That
the
way, you're
company.
set up better for mergers and acquisitions later.
Now, that being said, part of it too is if you're developing, a more complex structure of your business where you can create a holding company that owns your IP, and then you license it. You can license it to multiple different entities. The main operating company itself, that's going to hold the name and so if you're worried about multiple partnership structures or losing control of that business, like if you have a C corp and you got a pretty hefty board, once you get a certain, they can oust you, and then what do you have? So if this is truly your baby, how much control do you want over it and for how long? And that can always be changed and negotiated. This is all a morphing organism. A business is,
Oh,
constantly
man, it's constantly
changing,
evolving.
constantly
Oh, my
evolving.
God.
And there's always little things that you're like, I didn't see that coming.
Well,
You
okay,
know?
so I try to think about. I developed earlier on this year a starter kit on the marketing side of things. I'm like, let me make sure you have your right logo files. Let me make sure your social media accounts are set up properly.
Yeah.
Let me make sure like your website, you at least have a 1 to 2, 3 page website, something that makes you look good when people find you.
Landing page.
Let me
whatever they
set up
call
your
it.
like Google, Bing, and Apple Maps. So at least those 3 profiles, if someone goes and they can if they search for you. Let me get you like a business card, a couple prints, some stickers, and it's like less than $5,000.
Yeah.
It's like a total banger.
That's
project.
that's a lot.
Huge.
That's
It's
a
a
big
lot for
heavy
that.
lift.
So, and the reason is because like one, I've always loved to support small business. I always prefer that over corporate for the most
Yeah.
95% of the time. I
Everybody
like
likes
small
a good
business.
client,
Yeah, and on top of that, sometimes corporate is corporate, right?
Can be very
So, so it's really just to set those foundational elements, and also I can't value it really, and then afford it and want to do it at 10 to 15,000. Also shoot a video in that as well. So we do a video that's like, tell us about your business, and let's do a little bit of B-roll. It's a 60-second ad.
Yeah.
So it really sets them out on all the foundational parts. So I guess now we're kind of covering foundational elements, and also I'm gonna add in security in this as well. So you're offering a different kind of security, but it's still like a blanket security.
Yeah.
So I'm saying when these things are connected and they're set up properly, you know that one, you own them, that they're connected, set up properly, and double admin I recommend.
Oh,
So,
gosh, yeah.
Again, with the exit in mind, what happens when you go out? It's a good thing you have access. What happens if he goes sideways? Good thing you have access, or vice versa, or whatever.
Exactly.
If you're not available, okay, well, at least there's you, or you know what I mean? So there's a lot of different instances why it's good to have a double admin and just double check those bases. So continuing on, I'm thinking like, if I'm starting a business, I go through a checklist of, okay, on the marketing side, social media accounts, domain, usernames,
Add in a federal
registrations.
trademark search.
Yeah.
So I
We
want
do
to
as
add
well.
in a federal trademark,
Yeah.
and then
Add in the search. When you guys are doing that as that part of that package, I would recommend doing that just to add that extra. It takes no time, or like
Well,
have,
we're
like
pretty seasoned at
we
it.
are very
If you
seasoned
don't know
at
what you're
it.
doing, it can take a bit, but
a
I
good
think it'd be cool to
point.
plug in something that's like a
Yes.
small business starter kit, and it's somebody who hasn't started and wants to, just now starting, or who has started and hasn't quite gotten around 6 figures. Right around the 100 to 250K mark, they pay this fee. Bam, 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 bam. All these things done are like within 90 days. You're ready to roll.
yeah, we can
You
file
know.
a trademark in a day if you are prepared.
Yeah, if you've got all the
If the
information.
client is prepared, we can file it in a day.
What means prepared?
Well, are you ready to decide that this is what you want your forward-facing brand to be? Do you know exactly what the goods and services that you're going to offer? Do you plan on expanding into other goods and services in the next year? We have an application that kind of asks all that, so we give it to you. and
Are
we-
you actively using
Yeah,
Mark
or
now?
getting ready to use it, so we can file on different bases. As I have a plan to use it, then I'll file on a different basis. If I'm already using it, I got to go and get that evidence and give it to the government, showing that we do, like you are in fact using the mark that you say. So, and we have an application, and essentially, if you can fill that out adequately and get it back to me that same day, I can get you on file. So it really doesn't have to be a long process.
Well, and one of the things I like to counsel people on, especially when they come to me early stage, is let's file for, there's several different types of trademarks. There's your basic word mark. Sounds about as boring and basic as it is. And then there's your design mark, like for your logo. And then you've got
Something
combinations.
iconography or an icon or
Yeah,
some graphic.
your icon or your font and the coloring and all the things.
Yeah,
Like, look
like-
at that Under Armour. Yeah, just like that's their logo, but you know the words Under Armour immediately when I see that. I don't even have to see the words Under Armour. It's Apple computers, Apple phones. I know immediately what that brand is, but when you're early stage, people need to see the words a little bit more. And your logo, depending on if you created it yourself, if you hired someone to do it, that might morph over time. Your customers may hate that logo, or like they may hate that color scheme, or it may look a little weirder than you thought it did when it looked really cool. See a lot of those funny ones. So the basic word mark is like your broadest level of protection because it covers the words, no stylization, anything like that. With, when you file it with those associated goods and services. Like if you're in legal or marketing, that's going to fall within its own class. Or if you're selling cosmetics, that's going to fall within a different class. Sporting goods, apparel, food products, etc. They all fall within different classes. So those trademarks, it can be the same name, but if they're filed in very distinct classes from themselves, they can exist alongside one another. They're not likely to cause confusion to consumers. That's the gold standard with the Patent and Trademark Office. So when people are like, oh, I changed the spelling, to something like farm and use PH instead,
Yep.
and it's like, but if it sounds the same, they consider it still likely to cause confusion to consumers. That's what the standard at the Trademark Office is. When you file a mark, they do their own search of all the databases and all the things that are out there that are registered, and they think to themselves, are these two things alongside each other in this class or an overlapping class that kind of is similar enough? Because these classes were created many, many long time ago. Like we've got software now, and those classes are all like a smattering
Oh,
of
boy.
craziness.
They're in 3 different classes. Software
They've
is in
all
3
morphed,
classes now.
in a lot of ways. But so anyway, that's the standard. So when you're creating a mark, when you're looking at a brand and you see another one similar, you see a Facebook page or a URL that's that, or you got the .co, maybe you need to look at the trademark registry to see what's out there and kind of think to yourself, ooh, would this cause confusion? Would my brand cause confusion with this brand?
So now that we're kind of talking about like some of these foundational elements, can you talk about anything that'd be good to have like on a contract level for a business that is fairly new or is about to start? It's like, these are probably the standard contracts that you should have, that you should generally need to consider for any business.
Employment agreements, absolutely.
Independent
Assignment
contractor agreements.
Yeah, your for us, IP assignment agreements are gold. Almost all, besides copyright infringement that happens all over the place, almost all of our fights now are employment agreements and IP assignment agreements that weren't shored up on the front end, and now we got to go fight somebody else to get them back, to get those rights back to the company.
Yeah.
That's almost primarily.
So when I hired me as a business owner, if I hired an employee and I didn't explicitly state the IP rights that you bring to the table and
That they
provide to the
create while
business
they're
that you
here.
create while you're here are owned to the company, it's presumed that the employee owns those IP rights?
Not quite.
No, there's a lot of implication. Like if they're a W-2 employee, it's more likely that it would be
A
viewed
W-2
that
employee. We're
yeah,
talking about
W-2
employee.
employee, it's more likely than not that those rights would be implied owned by the company. But,
Right.
Depending on how you operate, what your course of dealing with this employee, what your understanding, any verbal interactions, weird emails that said, oh no, man, you can go use that anytime you want. You can go use that logo you created for us, like whatever. Then that erodes those rights from you. Whereas if you had it all buttoned up, in a nice, hey, you're working for us, everything you create, for us from here on out in the course of, your employment with us is owned by this company and not you. And without our authorization, you cannot go use it, and repurpose it in some other way.
Right.
But how much of that is overreaching? If you think of like engineers, who have like years and years of know-how, and then they bring in, that know-how on this one project, does all of that know-how, go with that project and owned by the company? Likely not. It's like what's commonly known, what's commonly out there, how much of this is truly proprietary and new, and unique to this business.
The same area of work generally comes into play too. In Oklahoma, if you're a W-2 employee and the company controls your hours, where you work, and you kind of show up to work, your tools of the trade, if the company controls that, and then you create something that's similar, so it's not the exact same thing. If it's similar enough and you do it, it makes sense that it happened while you're on company time, using company tools, while the company had control over you. A lot of the times, the company is just going to claw that, and that's very clearly ours. What the problem comes in play is when you're 1099 contractor.
Oh,
When
yeah.
the company has no
Glorious
control
mess.
over where and when you work the tools of your trade, but
which is one of the agreements that I've got to share with
Yeah.
you. I'm going to print out mine because I have mine. What two different business partners with two different organizations made.
yeah,
So
Oh,
this
yeah.
one
No,
that I've been
it's like
using for
fully,
years.
Everybody has different agreements.
But there's some standard.
There are.
There are
There's
standard
boilerplate.
language,
There's
yeah.
all the boilerplate out
Yeah.
there.
yeah, there is. So that's generally what we deal with. Is a lot of times, lately, it's been software. You pull in people who know exactly what they're doing to help you with their business, but it's generally a contract, temporary workplace environment. And then when they leave, they've created something, and the company had no control over them. They just helped to build this. And then they think, well, man, this could be really good applied to a different area of industry. I'm going to do that.
Oh, and what's a really fun one is like when people just get together and work on projects
Yeah.
and don't talk about who's going to own what at the
Yep.
end of this, and then so and so just runs off and files for a patent, or and doesn't tell his other buddies, and then what's your recourse there? That can always be a mess. One thing that I will say that I think is maybe one of the most important little bits of knowledge that no one knows is if you invent something, that's potentially patentable, and there's requirements that go along with that. What are those requirements for patentability?
It's very redundant, new, novel, non-obvious.
And what are the subject matter that can be patented?
Chakrabarty says anything under the sun made by man is eligible for patent protection.
Yeah, but not your laws of nature, like a tornado.
No
like if
math, no
I patented a
Yeah.
nader, baby.
no
or like a
plant.
plant that
That's my
exists.
nader.
Like,
Plants have to be
Plants are a whole
asexually reproduced multiple times, or at least one time.
That's my frog.
Yeah.
but think about when you got kids at a science fair doing science projects, and they invent something, and they might something really cool like a pet widget or something, and they show it at the science fair. That's what we call a disclosure. And if you disclose something to the public, or you have a private or public sale of whatever that is, and you don't file for a patent within 1 year from the date of that disclosure, you are barred from getting a patent on that widget, concept, whatever it is, as it stands there, as it was presented. And no one knows that. I'll have people that are like, oh, yeah, I showed this about 7 years ago, and can I get a patent on it now? And I'm like, well, what was the nature? Who did you show it to? Did you sell? Oh, I've sold 20 of them. And it's just heartbreaking because, it's one of those things I want to get a billboard for. That would be my one, definite billboard would be be careful about your patent, your invention disclosures, and know when you do those. Yeah. And people are pitch competitions. You're going out in your pitch competition, and I'm always getting asked, how much of this can I show? And I'm like, don't show how it works. Don't show how it functions. You can very generally, high level, describe something about it, or maybe the business model behind it, something like that. But don't show us the bells and whistles of, what's proprietary, what you really developed with it. Or get a provisional patent application on file prior to that disclosure date. That way you have a record. The provisional patent application, I call the baby patent application. And it's much doesn't happen with that thing. You file it, you draft some stuff up, you file it, and you got your name on it, and you got a filing date. And then you need to file the next level a year from then. But it buys you that freedom then to go show, disclose, sell, ideate, fiddle with it, improve on it. And then when that year happens, you file the non-provisional. That's the big daddy application. Or the big mama. We're not sexist here. So, that's the one that gets examined. That's the one that can mature into a full-blown patent. And it's got a lot more detail to it and claims and, the things that make up a patent.
I had a patent over a product that my grandpa started in '88.
Oh, yeah?
So
And-
it's gone by now. But
Oh, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's well
The-
gone.
the
Which is
20
why the
years.
business doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So it's just not worth it anymore. So,
Well, you're
but I've
probably-
seen the patent.
Yeah.
through it itself. It's 20 years or 25 years.
20 years from the date of first filing.
And you cannot renew a patent, which I also figured out.
There's ways you can extend if
Yep.
you modify and improve on it. You
But
can
you
get
have to significantly
extensions.
modify it. You
Well,
can't just
there's-
be like, I moved a bolt from here to here.
It has to have
Yeah.
a purpose.
It
Why
has to
did
have
you
a-
mold
why
that?
did you move
yeah,
the bolt?
why did
Like,
you
did
do
it
it?
make
newer
a significant
utility.
improvement to
But
the
what can
overall
help that is, so you have that 20-year limit, and that's what the patent system's based on, is you get that exclusivity. That's what a patent means. It's not a magic wand that says no one's ever going to infringe on your deal and the
Yeah,
USPTO
forever
is
and
going to
ever.
slam down on them with a sledgehammer. Like, that's not happening. You have to go pursue who's infringing on you or who's violating your rights. But you get that exclusivity. You're the only one allowed to make, manufacture, and sell that thing. Market it, everything, unless you authorize or license others to do so, which is a way that you can monetize that entirely. But yeah, the patent system, it's not just magical. Like, you have to go after people as well, if they're infringing.
Before we run away on this on
Yeah.
this topic, you're probably wondering, like, why would the government do that? And that's a really good question. Thank you for asking, Braden. It's because you have to trade something off. The government requires you
Yes.
to give to get, and it's the reason why you have to disclose. You get it 1 year from disclosure is because the government wants to drive innovation, and they don't want to prevent anybody from doing so. So when you file a patent, you have to disclose how it's done. So somebody who is also skilled in the art, is the term we use, can read that patent, understand how it works, and build off of that. They can't do it the way that you do it for quite some time, but they can take the information that you give that is now proprietary, but is the next step in innovation. And they can look at that and think, man, I think this would be really cool if we did it this way or added to it, and then we could apply it to this brand new function. So in that way, it drives innovation. So the government requires you to give to get.
Yeah.
It's
Get
the
that
right to
exclusivity.
refuse others from doing, not the right to do. That's why you always have to actively protect it. It doesn't just protect itself.
If you don't pursue patent protection on your infringers, then that continues to erode those rights. Like, if you come up and you're like, oh, that guy's been using my same widget for the last 15 years, but I want to go after him now. Well, like, why'd you wait 15 years? That's a question. But my point being, your family's patent expired, and so you get that 20 years to have that exclusivity, and then you pump the marketing and the trademarks and the other IP that you can to, like, Advil. The ibuprofen patent expired long, long ago, and we can all buy generic ibuprofen, but sometimes people just call it Advil, meaning ibuprofen, and they may buy the Target brand or whatever, the big giant bottles at Costco. But the marketing that company put behind Advil and the name and the customer recognition, that's what we all think. Kleenex.
It's not a tissue.
Tip.
Cute,
Q-tip.
yeah.
It's a Q-tip.
It's a Q-tip. It's not like a cotton swab on a stick, right?
No one
It's a
calls it
Q-tip.
that. Like,
Yeah,
we all call
really
it that
good
other stuff.
branding.
So that's where the branding comes in. So when the patent's long gone, people still remember.
Which has also taken swift execution over a short time period at large scale, at massive scale. So in order to get it to be called a Q-tip, people had to quickly understand, and that word had to carry, and it had to be commonly understood and sticky.
Yeah, like
you
Mad
know.
Men.
But they also had to be careful, because if it took off like that too quick and they didn't have a patent on it and they didn't,
Oh,
they
then you
lost
just,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, everything's secretive until you're kind of ready to go. Patents is the most secretive. Trademarks you can get going well beforehand, but you really don't want to. Oftentimes we get that patent going at the same time that we're getting the trademarks going. So by the time we file the provisional, you've got the trademarks and you're just marketing all at once.
reiterate
you
the
just do-
difference between a patent and a trademark.
Well, the patent protects the utility of something or the design of something or the plant of something. Those are really the three you get. You get utility, design, and plant patents. And the utility is how something functions. Does it do a thing? And does it do that thing a certain way? A trademark is your brand-facing orientation of that brand. So like you are on Turf to Max, right? Turf to Max is the brand. The utility that we filed, that patent that's on there, it does a thing. You're not branding the does a thing. You're branding the company, really. So it's the forward-facing versus the utility.
And there's overlap and there's layers. I like to describe IP protections as what are you really ultimately trying to protect? Like what is the most like valuable thing? And it's like a castle. And you build something over it to protect it. And then how valuable is it and how many people are trying to get at it? So maybe that might be your patent, the castle piece. And then you aren't quite ready to file a trademark, but you're wanting to warn people. So you put the TM symbol, on your name, on the brand. And so that's like a warning sign. That's like out on leading up to the castle. It's like, beware, like scary ogre, whatever. And maybe you have a scary ogre, and maybe that's like your copyright filing or, a design patent. There's several different layers and there's overlap. Like copyrights, patents, and trademarks all have some overlap to them within one another. You can file multiple things for just one widget. Yes. And so, like, how much do you need to protect something? You might need a moat. You might need, like, it might be Game of Thrones, like, the night of, the final battle, like, where you've got everything going. But, like, if you don't have anything that's that truly valuable or that people are trying to get at that time, then maybe you don't need all that yet.
Right.
So it can be, like, a long-term, or we have short-term strategies and long-term strategies, where people will come to me and I'll be like, what's your ultimate vision? And let's work our way back from there. Let's take a look at your budget. Let's wait till you're revenue positive before we start to hit certain markers that I think are then going to start to build that castle out ahead of the time that we have to start defending anything. And then we've got a really bolstered, strong strategy.
Just take your business for example. You have your hands in a lot of different things as to your marketing, right? We're doing a podcast right now. That's its own class of goods and services. Marketing is its own class of goods and services. The and whiskey thing that you're doing, that's in its own class of goods and services. Giving talks, in its own. So you're covering 4 or 5 different classes of goods and services. Now the patents utility can cover all that. But the branding on your logo and your word mark needs to be more specific. You're not allowed to have, theoretically, right, is that you can also trademark sounds and colors, right? So you don't, if you turn Netflix on.
Like jingles.
Yeah.
Da-dum. Yeah.
Like if you turn Netflix on and you turn your back, you know that,
Yeah.
Who's that?
There's some copyright. There's some trademark
Like
there.
Roto-Rooter?
what
Yeah,
is
well,
that?
I don't know if they've done it, but like Netflix is a
that what
really
that
good
was?
one. Just done. Or the Microsoft.
Or the Disney.
Yeah.
Oh, uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Microsoft uploading in the 90s when that thing just made that loud
Yes.
blaring noise. Right?
Loved it.
Yeah. So
It's
things
so
like
nostalgic
that.
now,
Oh,
isn't
man,
it?
it's
You don't have
God,
to
for
look
those
at
of you
it.
who
We're that old,
remember,
yeah.
Right.
you're old as shit now. Welcome to the club.
We need a retinol for sure.
So
Our kids, they don't remember
I
dial
don't
up.
understand.
Mountain Dew
So.
green, Coca-Cola red, USP brown, UPS brown.
Well, then
Some
you've got trade
business
secrets if
yellow.
we're talking about
Right.
like
So the thing with that is what I'm getting at is theoretically speaking, they're going to attack you probably no matter what. Is if I had a completely different company where, I was a marketing and I had Mountain Dew Green. Theoretically, I should be able to have Mountain Dew Green. That's very specific green in marketing because it's in a completely different goods and services than what they filed
A
in.
different vertical.
They can cover probably sodas, probably coffees because a little bit of overreach. Some of the underlying, maybe even alcohol because they've branched into the hard seltzers now. So that green covers a similar-ish goods and services, but theoretically you should be able to do that and not be precluded in a completely different goods and services. That's why filing in the right classes is very important.
that being said too, like if you have a beverage company, X beverage company, and then you create Y beverage product, and then but like Y beverage product and like for pop, you had freedom to operate there. Great. But then if you wanted to make that like an alcoholic beverage or a coffee drink, but why that Y name was taken in those classes of goods and services, we'll do a pivot. Have it be Z coffee product. I mean, as long as you have good marketing tactics and like the right things that will catch the customer's eye and they like what you're offering, then they will buy it. If you get it out in front of the right people. So doesn't have to all be cohesive. There's several creative different ways to kind of get around, certain barriers or, certain, roadblocks in your IP journey for your brand. It's not, oh God, now I have to go change everything. It's like, no, maybe just launch a new line, under your main holding or beverage company, and you can have this one offshoot.
And a word of warning for you and all your clients is everyone wants this really catchy name that is always generally descriptive of what they do. The government's job is to prevent you. Well, their government job is to be the gatekeeper, but it feels like they try to prevent you from getting a trademark in your class and services. And if it's descriptive, the law is very, very clear in this area. Merely descriptive marks are not eligible for copyright or for trademark protections. And that's because if you had a company just, called like Black and Roasted Coffee or something, right? It's very descriptive of the goods and services that you do. Everyone who does coffee should be able to use the term black or roasted coffee because that just describes coffee.
Yeah, they shouldn't have dominion over
Oh, again,
those.
so we're going back to the original thing of foundational components that people don't think about.
Yes.
Along with the exit strategies, it's shit like this.
Yep.
Oh,
Yes.
my, yes.
90% of the office actions that we get have a merely descriptive disclaimer.
Like, I've got a great idea. I
Yeah.
came up with black and roasted coffee, and no one should be able
Yes.
to come up with black and roasted. Like, that is, why can't I?
Doesn't mean you can't do
but
it.
there are some that
just
have
can't get
done
it
something
registered.
really wild like that, and I'm like,
Yeah,
It
do they
work.
get
It
that?
can work. Well, and then there are ways like, so if you do have a descriptive mark and you're out there for 5 to 6 years, you can gain what you call acquired distinctiveness, which is another, regulation or legal term where you've been out that long and your customers know that's exactly what that brand is associated with, and so then you can get that higher level of protection, with the federal trademark because there's a principal register and a supplemental register. When you're more descriptive marks, they're going to fall sometimes onto that supplemental. But the
Yeah.
principal is like the ding dong daddy of like trademark protection.
if you draw
in
a
the
quick
US.
mind map, and I'll make this simple. So you have the business owner, draw down in the business, and then you have marketing. Within marketing, you have social media, strategy. You got digital advertising, traditional advertising, events, creative, whatever, right? And it snakes down. So I need somebody to help me out with marketing. That's my CMO, and then my CMO has a team, right? So then I've also got somebody for legal, and then he's got other people. So just because you practice law doesn't mean you cover all the law, right? So I've got someone to help me with law, but you guys are a component of that. So
Yes.
I also need somebody who, on top, next to you, covers litigation, while
And
you guys will
employment
cover
issues
IP.
or-
in a lot of ways.
Exactly.
I mean, I can write you a will. It'll function. But
It won't be good as somebody who just
That's
does
all
Right.
they do.
business.
and
Exactly.
other people can do trademarks, but the odds of them being as good as Kate and I, because we do it every day all the time, is very slim.
No one wants me handling their DUI
Yeah.
at all.
You're going to jail.
Yeah, like
I mean, you don't-
never, no one, like, and that's what I tell my clients. I'm like, look, I am happy for you to reach out to me, when we're in a live matter, like we're getting ready to file a patent. I want you to feel like you can tell me an update, and I'm not going to ding you for every single time for a charge, but I'm also like, none of this stuff's happening on the weekends. None of this stuff's happening after hours. There are rarely any IP emergencies. I was like, you're not calling me to bail you out of jail. Like, I am not, like, very clear. Like, we have the nice boundaries.
Jansen.
Well, you don't want your plumber working on your roof, right? They both do
Yeah.
construction, but they're very specialized, and it's a lot for us. And we can do a lot of different. We can advise on employment. We can advise on other stuff, but
Especially how it relates to IP.
Right.
If somebody's coming and they're like, hey, I'm going to go work for this company. They want me to sign this document. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I look at it through an IP lens. What are you giving away? What are you getting? What are you taking to the table? What are they going to try to take from you? Or vice versa, as, trying to protect the company and its assets. Okay, you're hiring someone. How clear are we drawing the line between what they're creating for you and what they already have? And to make sure that that's buttoned up again. But then one thing I'd like to touch on are trade secrets. So we can kind of go back to that, like soda reference. So like the recipe for Dr. Pepper, WD-40, the recipe for KFC's like original,
Fried chicken.
that kind of, that's trade secret stuff. It's a recipe or it's a formulation or how, something works. Your client list or like kind of your internal processes and procedures of how like you do your process. And what's really proprietary, your own IP, that's really in here or in how your business functions. Those are things you can protect more through contract
Yeah.
and agreements and those employment agreements and things like that. And those are things to consider protecting as well. If you have a policy handbook or a how-to, onboarding manual for a new employee on how to like get going, that's yours as well. And that can be protected a little bit with copyright registrations. And then just having those right contracts in place that say, when you leave here, you get to take nothing, or you can only take this, and maybe non-competes, which don't hold up well in the state of Oklahoma in
Not
many places.
anymore.
But, there's certain ways that those can still be enforced with certain proprietary information.
I've got 3 more things before we wrap up, and one of them is these cards. Have you heard of the Diary of a CEO?
Ooh.
Is that I think there's a podcast of that, isn't there?
It is a
Yeah,
podcast.
I follow him. He's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Love this podcast. I've got to buy the second deck of cards. He just came out with Gen 2. So these are the Gen 1 cards. But I don't think we've went through the whole deck just yet, but we should be getting pretty close. I started this a while back. I was like, these are cool. I love his podcast and how in-depth they get and stuff.
Yes.
So I'm going to draw a card.
Okay.
And we
See
just
how
kind
it goes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's just see how it goes. So
Can't wait.
Would you do it all again? What a question. I feel like I've lived 4 lives. You know, I was in the restaurant industry. I was doing slinging barbecue. I was in a lab doing microbiology. Then I was in a lab doing really chemistry and biochemistry. Yeah, I would. I've finally settled on a place where I am happy helping my clients reach their goals and protect what they've built. I was born in Tulsa. I was raised in Tulsa. I tell people I'll probably die here.
Tulsa's a good place.
I love
It
Tulsa.
is.
I really do. And I've always wanted to do something that leaves a legacy. And I always thought that I would be leaving my own legacy. And what I've realized as I've done this with Kate, especially, Kate's very good at this, is like I am setting up a future that I will not exist in. And I am okay with that because I'm helping protect that future that I will not be a part of. And I've been looking for a career that puts me in that place. And this is it for me. So I really love it. I would do it all again.
Yeah. Should I go on that card too?
Sure. I've got a different one too.
I love it. I would. There are moments, and I've had several of these moments in the past. I mean, just as a business owner yourself, you know, or you're building a book of business, it took me a while. You know, I was pretty stubborn about, you know, how I'd like market and do any of that kind of thing. It was very much just organic and natural, which felt good. Would I have gone back? Do I want to go back and be a vet? I have those moments where I just think sometimes that's like the most natural thing to me. But I spent the better part of half my life, the first half of my life, preparing for that entirely. So that's just my comfort zone. But, you know, what I do now and, you know, helping business owners and helping people kind of work in this positive way, I think the veterinary profession would have eaten me alive, just like being in a family law would have done the same thing. It would have been heartbreaking the way that I operate, the way my emotions are, and the kind human that I really am. I love what I do, and it's fun. We're helping people build things. I've been able to do it in a way that I can be there for my family when they need me. I have that flexibility and autonomy as my own business owner that I'm not subject to anyone else's scheduling but for my clients, you know, but you can always mitigate that. No, I love what I do. I love the people that I encounter. I think I'm not an overly religious human at all, but I think that I've gone through my life and all the different things that I've done, and I'm in the right place right now. I'm supposed to be.
It's a
love
good
that.
question. I like that. Yeah.
This one's yours.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I will still sling barbecue any day. Shout out to Adam. Thank you, Burn Co. But
Bronco.
I think this is where I was finally supposed to be. Right, settling in with the right quality of life and the right thing that you do is very important.
I agree. What is the greatest
You got it.
wealth in your life? I would say the people in my life. I have incredible friends. I have incredible colleagues. I have Jansen here. I have a wonderful fiance. And like I said, you know, I would do it all again because I'm really happy where I am. And I think the greatest wealth is that, contentment, and the people that I'm surrounded by.
Yeah, I kind of led on a little bit already with that. I mean, I have a wife and an 18-month-old at home. So, I mean, but leaving a lasting legacy, being remembered, but not being remembered as you, but being remembered as somebody who helped everybody else. That's more wealth than I could accrue in my lifetime.
I definitely would do it all over again.
Yeah.
There's nothing that I don't know. There's times where I'd be like, I wish I wouldn't have eaten that. Or I wish I wouldn't have drank
I was
that
at Golden
much.
Corral
you know.
yesterday, so
Yeah.
I'm living that.
You know, but I really try not to live my life with any sort of regret. So I'm trying not to make any decisions that I'm not like, yeah, let's go. And then be like, oh no,
Yeah.
you know, I really wished, you know, it didn't do that. But I don't know. We were talking on another episode about how we're an accumulation of who we are today of past experiences, right? Even down to just the way you look. It's an
Oh, yeah.
accumulation of what you've done, what you've eaten, and how you stayed active or not, or
Yeah.
you know, all that stuff, and then the decisions you make, and how your thoughts happen, and how you speak. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I take up a lot from my dad. You look at my dad, and I'm like, oh, you are.
There
your
you
dad.
are.
Yeah, you are copy paste.
Oh, I
And
love
so in a lot
that.
of aspects, and then there's a lot towards like, oh God, you're your mom. Like, I know I love my mom, but anyways. But yeah, so that. What was the other question?
It's the greatest wealth in your life.
I don't know. There's a lot of unrealized support. Unrealized, as in until it's realized, there's more support than I think I actually have. There's more support that I have than I think I actually realize. If I said that right.
Yeah, I
Yes.
feel like that's true for a lot of people.
You know, and
Definitely for me
because
too.
there's a lot of moments where I'm like, oh, you know, I believe everyone does it. All of us, we're like, oh, you're alone. You know, you're in the pit. Like, there's nothing left or whatever. You know, and that can be temporary, and that doesn't have to be as extreme to suicide or something. That's not what we're talking about, right? But we're just talking about like, oh, today sucked, and you're just like, I'm alone, and there's no support. And then, you know, then there's times where like the next day completely 180s, and it's like, oh my God, like all these people are here to support me. You know, and it's like, how did I feel like I was unsupported 2 days ago? You know, whatever, right? But I know that there's just a lot more support than I think I realize, and I think that kind of comes down to perception too, which has been another big conversation that we've been having a lot over the last, I don't know, year or 2 years or so, or maybe since we started the podcast, we've been talking about a lot about perception, and it's a natural conversation that's just been reoccurring for a long time about how we all have misperceptions of each other. You know, like I know you'll walk into somebody's office and you go, wow, this is grand and glory, and God dang, they make some money and they work with these clients.
all the time.
But you also don't know that the troubles that they have,
Right.
you know, the sacrifices that they've made, or you know what they're also have given up to be able to provide opportunities for others and stuff too. And maybe that's fine for them, but that's not fine for you. But sometimes we over glorify, or sometimes we don't realize that, like, you know, it takes 18 years to 20 years to make something happen and to develop. And it's like, well, they did it in 4. Why can't I do it in at least just 6? Or what if
Comparison.
8? You know, like, why are we on a trajectory for 12 plus right now? It's just like, you know, and I don't know. And there's a nonprofit that was called Joy in the Journey. I don't know if they still exist, but this was, like 10 years ago. And for some reason, that term keeps coming about where it's just, Gary Vee's good at that. Where he's just, I'm along for the ride, you know, and I'm enjoying the journey and the path and whatever's happening and stuff. So I don't know. Constant reminder of a lot of those things. That was real deep.
Oh, I love that.
No,
I
it's
believe
good.
I truly believe at my core that empathy is a superpower, you know, and not enough people exercise it. Goes to that perception. What else, you know, yeah, well, you see what you see, but what else is that person
Yeah.
battling? What are their pressure points in their life? You know,
Yeah.
what's going on with them? You know, it's helpful to know those things, especially when you're dealing with them in business or just even personally.
Sure.
You know, it gives you that extra note of compassion or even knowledge. You know, it can be used as leverage, but, you know, with great power comes great responsibility. You know, let's exercise that all with compassion.
I got 2 questions. Are you lucky or are you smart?
I feel like everybody wants to say that they're smart, you know. I feel like this is just the answer. It's a little bit of both.
I think it's both.
IP is very, very hard to get into. I'm very blessed that Kate was in the right spot at the right time.
I'm
Are
very
you
blessed
lucky?
that you came along at the
Are
right
you both
time.
lucky in that aspect?
It's a-
I think lucky and smart.
It is
you
a
know?
very hard. It is very hard to break into IP. It really is. There's people waiting. You know, it's a threshold that you have to essentially got to do it yourself to get picked up by anybody else for a very long period of time. I would also like to think that I was smart. You know, we both have science backgrounds. Kate's very smart. From the things that she talks to me about, the way that she approaches the situation, the correction that she gives me,
He's so technical, like his intelligence level. Like he's very more formally trained than I am. I didn't have as much IP training formally in law school. You know, I went through the school of hard knocks and more hard research. But the way he speaks on it in such technical like directness is always impressive and a huge asset to me. I mean, we've really come into each other's lives at a very like critically, I think, beautiful, lucky, and smart time.
Yeah, I would second that. You know, Kate compliments my areas of weakness, and I'd like to think
And vice
I do
versa.
the same for her. Yeah,
Yes. I'm very conflict averse, which is funny. Why am I a lawyer? No one knows.
yeah. No, I start. Yeah,
Well, that's a good attribute to have as a lawyer because
Yes.
it's like I really
Yes.
don't want to go to litigation on this, which is going to be best interest of my client. So you're not a blood-sucking lawyer leech, right?
I like to think that.
Yeah.
I
Where
make
it's
fun
like,
of
let's go to
lawyers.
litigation, baby.
Yeah. But not to say that Jansen is like the opposite. No, he's very like driven, and he sees like a clear path, and he's relentless in the pursuit of
Yeah.
like what the client needs, and a
yeah.
win, but in a good way, in an ethical like reasonable way. Like
Yeah.
you're not just gonna run for the hills, but
we have a very good track record because of that. We really do. This year has been a great track record. But if the government gives me an office action, I start frothing at the mouth.
he gets
Still,
excited.
I get excited. Like, how
It's
dare
like
you
a racehorse going.
tell
into
me
the
I
chute.
can't have this? I'm going to take it anyways. Right. So this
It's
year's been a
fun.
very good year.
But it's fun to pit him on those.
Oh,
It's
I'm not
great.
kidding. You know,
I'm not. Yeah, he's
You get
literally
some back.
excited. He's like,
Savage
"Oh,
and
this-
ravage and
I'll be in my office like, you've got to be kidding me.
I'll
I
hear it
cannot
through the wall.
believe this, right? And I'll be talking to myself. She's just next door and can hear me.
And I just laugh.
You
I'm like,
will
"What is
rue
it?"
the day that you gave Jansen an office action on this one.
ruin you.
Yeah.
The other question I've got is, would you recommend that somebody just jump in and go for it and just get started, or should they be more prepared and planned?
Jump in. I think that hesitation, that hold, like just being still, isn't doing anyone any good. It's definitely not doing you any good. Now that being said, get started, and then also talk with an attorney and get like at least some information. Come to my office hours if you want to get started. I have office hours at Gradient once a quarter, like all day, like, or you can just call us. Like, we'll be happy to have like a quick conversation about what we think you absolutely need to get started with to protect yourself from the outset. But don't wait to start.
Sounds like you're saying get started.
Get
planning.
started.
Yeah, planning.
Get started planning, but yeah, take some action. You
Yeah.
know,
I'm more cautious than that, actually. My
Mm-hmm.
my approach to things is once you have a better understanding, then go ahead and take the leap, because we have had clients that empty their 401k to start a business. I mean, they do a research like, well, it's going to cost me about $100,000 to get something from nothing, and I'm gonna just dump everything I've got into it, and then they put their family in financial risk and turmoil when they could have called us or talked to us a little bit. There's a lot of free things out there. There's a lot of steps you could have taken to mitigate a lot of that. So the planning aspect before you jump, I think, is valuable. I
I
it's a
think
mix of
Tulsa
both.
is such an incredible ecosystem. We talk about this all the time that, I work with a lot of like business support groups and just like ideating on how we can better support businesses. And while there
There's
is a
Jonathan.
valley, the squirrel, while there's a valley of death, like once you get to a certain point out of that early stage where you really have to slog through, and that there's an area where I think there's some lacking resources. But at this early stage, at that start stage, there's so many great resources to help you gain the knowledge, get started, with groups like Gradient or like Build in Tulsa, the Chamber. There's networking groups, things like that, where you can have people that are helpful, to get you started at that early stage. Reach out to them, look for them, like they are there, or reach out to us and I can connect you with one. There's some great accelerators for any of your ideas, to help you get started. You can go from there.
Side hustles are called side hustles for a reason, right? Because until they're paying your bills, they're side hustles. And you can do them. You can start something without quitting your current job and putting your family at risk. You really can, in Tulsa especially. And our services are really not that much. As far as things go for legal, we are on the lower end to get that protection that you need. So, and we don't charge for consults. We don't charge for office hours.
Mm-hmm.
Kate gives very freely.
So much.
She
Fun.
dedicates full days
Helpful.
of just consults.
There's nothing more sad to me than when someone calls me and comes to me after the fact when they they didn't get the right thing going or they didn't ask the right question or they didn't get to talk to me first and there's a mistake and it's more costly and expensive for them to fix. Then and it's harder and they're trying to do 10,000 other things where I'm just like, come have a conversation with me.
Yes.
That's all it has to be 30 minutes real quick. And I can kind of work through a risk strategy for you.
Yes. Rebranding is going to cost you about 7 times more than
New
just
website, new
coming to us in the first
packaging,
place.
new logos,
Oh my god.
everything, business card. I mean, just think of the money that you spend on all these things. And
People
if you
don't
have to go
realize
do
how much expensive that stuff becomes.
it adds up.
Yep.
And then just have to change it all and then let your customers know that it's changing. And,
Yep.
and customers are fickle. I will say they will pivot with you well enough. If you do good work and you have a good product or service, they don't care what your name is. They like you, and that's one of our pieces too is I love the relationship side. I love helping my clients. I love seeing their wins. I love seeing them succeed. I love, hearing about all the cool things they're doing and, learning about all the pressures in their lives because then I know better how to counsel them on, how much time and effort to put into this or do you need help? What resource do you need to alleviate that you're doing everything and you're running yourself ragged? Burnout, when you're starting up a business or, a startup, it's high. It's a high rate. I see it a lot. I've felt it.
It's grueling. to
It's
start a
grueling.
business. It is, and it takes a long time. But if you would,
But it's like you said, you're not alone.
Yep.
There are people out there that are willing to help you, but you've got to ask. You've got to get up and take a little gumption and look for it.
if you
And then
call
keep
us
asking.
on the front end for free, you can avoid a $30,000 rebrand later. Or if you come to us ready to spend, say, conservative estimate between 2 and 6 to just get all your IP in a row on the front end, you can avoid that litigation in the back end or that rebrand and just so much more headache. We are the good attorneys. We're the fun attorneys. We want to be called before you do something, not once you've got yourself in trouble.
Public service announcement. If you're copy pasting any images
Yeah,
from
don't do that.
anyone else on the internet and posting it on your business, social media, website, using it in any commercial way to try to, further your business or get clients in or earn revenue, don't do it. Make sure you know who owns that and get license for that image or photo or graphic, and then there's the AI mess, which we won't get into today, but we see a lot of copyright violations across the board. And those are heartbreaking too, because that's an annoying thing. I
Yep.
just posted it and I didn't even make any money off of it. Now this other lawyer group, is coming after me and saying I owe them $30,000, for this one little photo.
A $20 Canva subscription can prevent you from getting a cease and desist
Do
or
it.
a demand for $30,000.
Be careful where you get your images.
Don't just pull and
Please.
put on your Facebook. Their AI is getting very good about finding you and letting you know that you have infringed, and it's only going to get worse from here.
Why would someone want to reach out and how do they do that?
You can get a hold of me at kate@blackdoglaw.com, Jansen at blackdoglaw.com. We're also, you can check out our website, blackdoglaw.com.
Or
Or I'm
wander-
at Gradient,
yeah.
wander into Gradient and be like, hey, can I talk to Kate or Jansen?
Yeah, my Facebook is open too. I have a lot of clients that weirdly stalk me now. So I want to know who I'm getting in business with, and your Facebook is not business oriented. No, it is not. It's actually me. You will see, my hunting stuff on the front page, my family stuff on the front page. But you can always reach out to me on my Facebook. I'm very accessible. We like to be accessible. It's one of those things where you use it, please don't abuse it.
Also true.
Mhm.
Also true.
I feel that.
Reasonable boundaries.
Yes.
Reasonable boundaries,
Yeah.
everyone.
We'll have to consider doing it and I don't know when, but we'll have to consider doing an AI IP episode because that would be very interesting conversation. to have.
Very hot topic
and
right now.
An IP related to more business and marketing applications, more specific.
Absolutely.
So, but we definitely covered a lot of
Oh my gosh, all
oh
over.
my god, yeah, we're all over.
Yeah, we
Which is
would.
great.
Woohoo.
Yeah.
It's typically how my brain works. So.
Well, appreciate you guys on here, and
Thank
I'll see
you.
you next time.
Awesome.